Hello, I'm Rebecca Horan and welcome to A Little Birdie Told Me, a podcast brought to you by rollercoaster.ie. In season 4, I'm going to be talking to a range of well-known Irish faces about being in the trenches when it comes to parenting. Well, I am thrilled because it's somebody I follow, I think have followed for years, and certainly in earnest now because he is the father of 2 children and still, keeping his career at the level it always was, if not even more so. And just a wonderful dad and husband and career guy. Donal Skehan, welcome to the podcast. You are author, of course, broadcaster, presenter, and traveling currently with 2 little ones. So welcome. Where are you?
Thank you very much. I'm actually just home from Texas. We've been filming a series for this morning, which is going out in November. So I'm exhausted, but I was telling you very briefly that I'm having some jet lag issues. So it's not the children's fault that I'm not sleeping at the moment. It's my own and jet lag.
I think with all the wonderful, high profile people or celebrities or whoever we've never had someone virtually, we've never had someone, and it's something I would never want to do, but we wanted you so badly. We were like, we'll get him. It's fine. We'll have him on Zoom. It's totally acceptable. So thank you for doing it. And why Texas for the show? Why do they pick Texas?
Oftentimes they'll have pitched certain ideas, and Texas was one of them that they've been working on for a while. So they had the Strand idea, and then they asked if I was up for it. And of course I took the opportunity and went, yes, I'll take a week away from my children and my wife and escape.
It's quite incredible. We're going to be talking a bit about parenting. Obviously, this is a parenting podcast, roller coaster, but it is quite incredible that you came from kind of the realm of pophood media, doing your bits and bobs, TV show, showing people who were rubbish at cooking how to cook, and kind of that nice starting point to huge, Donal. And yes, you moved back from LA and you're making this success of yourself at home, but you say yes to things, but you're also getting the work with 2 small kids. That's really hard because I know you seem to be hands-on dad. I don't think you're faking it to make it. You seem very family orientated. It's hard.
It is hard. Yeah. I suppose there's easier ways of doing it, especially from a parenting perspective, but we've always been hands-on. And I think because of that, that connection, and because of wanting that connection, you do try and do everything. But it's like everyone, you're trying to spin so many plates, and some things fall sometimes and some things are great other times. So it is a balancing act. And, I do find, even at the moment, I am up the walls, and I do have that kind of guilt in me, that kind of feeling. I just want to switch it all off and just
it's not really like everyone though, Donal. I know what you're saying. Everyone has to work and make a living, and everyone, maybe people aren't paid as well, or they're working 2 jobs, but it's still not like everyone to have to travel and to say yes to things and keep current and relevant and make the reel for social and remember when it's being scheduled and give the kids the time when you're home, when you're actually just really bollocksed, and keep a track of your schedule and make sure your assistant. So it's not I know we all go, oh, the poor people are doing really well, but it's not like everyone. Your work is very intense,
It is intense. I think I've made it normal in my head because, it's what I do and it's what I've always done. And I think in some ways, because I've always operated at that level, there is, and in lots of ways, I think that's kind of, in the past couple of years, I've become much more aware that there is moments where I do need to stop and kind of take stock and kind of go, what's important here? So I've become a lot better at stepping back from it and knowing when to step back. And even as we speak right now, we are in the midst of a mad moment. And I've known that always kind of happens in the sort of work that I do, where there is these kind of intense periods and then there's kind of quieter periods. So it's coming to kind of find acceptance with that. And then knowing that, while the kids might not see me for a week, and I do promise I don't want to just escape all the time. It is that sense of, you find there's we have a little moment where I've booked where I'm going to be with the kids over a really nice weekend, and we've got some time away. So you try and block in those little moments and try and build them into whatever busy schedule there is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something that I've become used to, and I guess there is that pressure to stay relevant and always be taking the jobs. And because I always laugh when people say, "Oh, it's the RTE kind of crowd," and I'm like, I don't work for RTE.
Yeah,
I'm not on that salary.
I don't see you as an RTE person. I feel like you're very much independent of all of that, which is great. You really have made your own path. So
well, you have to, and I think while it'd be lovely to be on a dedicated salary, we've had to work for every job that comes our way, and I think because of that, it's made us more kind of succinct with how we try and operate with things. But in saying that, there is always that pressure. It's always like, I've a book at the moment coming out, and you're kind of like last night I was jet lagged and thinking of like how we're getting that launched and when we're doing that, and so there is a lot that goes into it. But I do think it's what has always driven me. So it's trying to find the balance of why you enjoy it, but also, there's this
Yeah,
the stress that comes with it. So
I
managing the
agree.
stress.
I like that. It's like why you enjoy it, why you ever got into it, why you do it now. How could you stop it? You can't. And then this is your living.
It's
But
what you
also,
know.
it's all you ever knew. Yes, exactly. And like, you're saying, oh, I've got dedicated time coming up. I remember somebody recently saying to me, because I would work full time and quite hectically, and it's all a bit, and it's certainly not like what you do, but I have two little ones as well. And there is guilt all the time. And I think it's not just a female thing at all because men are so brilliant as dads. I don't think it is female anymore. But I remember someone saying, you know what they'll remember most, Rebecca? They'll remember most the days you weren't home from work or some bullshit. And I went, no, I totally disagree with you. My dad worked all the hours. He was a lawyer. He was never, and he did great. But I love him. I don't remember being bitter or angry. I knew what I was getting at home from other people. And I think we can't do that. We can't actually make it that big a thing. And you're saying you're giving them dedicated. I do think the quality time you give them can sometimes outweigh the day-to-day mundanity, of parenting.
No, I agree with that. And like, I mean, look, you said it exactly that there is those mundane, where you literally have to get them to school, get them back
Mm.
out, and there's all of that. But I've always thrived on those little moments where we have something that we've connected on. Whether it's
Mhm.
their big thing at the moment is magna tiles, and so like we build all
I
these
love my guitar.
marble runs, and and like and hours of entertainment. So like those are the moments that I really enjoy, like where you do get the opportunity to connect. So like yes, but you also like every parent suffers that guilt, but it's guilt that's really put on ourselves, and we have to kind of be mindful not to add that on
Mhm.
top of everything else that's going on. So
With our mental
I,
health in general, yeah.
exactly, exactly. So I do think it's all about kind of a balance, and like I said, at the moment it's mad, and I know it's mad, but it will calm down. And so being aware of that, not to be stressed by it, is an important thing. And we know, I mean, Sophie's seen it over the course of promoting 11 different cookbooks and
Wow.
TV shows. There is that point where like it gets manic and then it stops, and then you just have to kind of be mindful of what happens in that stop time to kind of build yourself back up again.
Yeah, because there's also like, let's be really honest. I'm not saying you're Beyonce, but you're kind of like Beyonce. But like, there's also the moments when you stop where there's the anticlimax, the exhaustion, the worry about the next gig, the kind of plateau of like the day to day, which you think is amazing, but you get a bit, oh, I'm a bit itchy. So there's all of that to deal with this kind of personality, which is probably an A type personality who is very on all of the time. Would you say that she, like my husband is definitely not the same as me. Would you say she's different, or would you not be able to say that? Or like, is your
Yeah, no,
personality,
definitely. I
yeah.
think it's why it's always been an element of how we kind of operate, because I am nuts, and
Yeah.
she brings a little bit of balance and the consistency, and particularly for the kids as well, because it's fine. It would be terrible if both of us were, well, not terrible, but it would be more difficult for the kids if we were both traveling the way I am.
Yeah.
So to have that sort of consistent thread for them, I think, and also I see that now even more so for me as well, that I've had that consistent thread where Sophie has been at home, or keeping things on
Mhm.
on schedule, on track.
Yeah.
And that's an important thing, and finding that balance, and kind of even in the relationship, to kind of understand that those are the roles, and to kind of be mindful of them as well.
And maybe temporarily, maybe this is this madness now. Maybe it chills. Maybe maybe it is all
Exactly,
temporary. Yeah.
exactly, yeah, yeah,
Did
and
you always
having the
want to be
balance
a
to do that.
dad?
Yeah, I did. I did.
Did
I
you?
think I think, like, I think when you're in your 20s, you kind of it scares you, but I think
Mm.
certainly in my 30s I was ready, and I think we had our first at I was 30. I just turned 30, 31. So I
Wow,
was
that's
I was
young.
ready.
That's
Yeah.
young.
Yeah, and I think at that stage, like, we'd kind of like, a lot of the career stuff had been like, there was elements that had been ticked, and we'd just moved to LA, and there was
Mm.
excitement around it. And then I think in some ways we didn't really expect when Noah arrived, that things would kind of, completely change. I don't think anyone ever expects that. You can't tell anyone who's pregnant. I have to stop myself going, your life's about to change forever. Just
It's
prepare
over. But enjoy it. I hope
yourself.
the pregnancy goes well. You're looking
Yeah, yeah.
great. Yeah. Yeah. It's
I
just
have to stop myself, because like my brother and his wife are they're expecting they're expecting someone, a
they're
child
expecting
in
something to happen
they're
someday
expecting
soon.
something
A
in the new year.
vasectomy. That's what
I
you're.
don't know what I'd recommend, but like there is that, like, I have to stop myself from, like, I mean, he's seen all the horror stories of of like puking down the front, and when you're just about to go out the door and someone needs to do poo, and
Everyone
all the
always needs to
elements
do a
that
poo. What is that? It's a kind of
I
issue
don't
in
know
Ireland. What is it?
why.
It's like, just do it earlier. Like, what the
Yeah.
hell? But it's like labor. It's like, what would your advice be, Rebecca? I'm like, don't ask me about labor, because I'm going to tell you how horrendous. Like, don't ask people questions that you don't want an
Yeah.
answer to. Let's just
Yeah.
keep it nice and beautiful, and like, it's when you hold that baby.
Magic.
But you did. So you wanted kids. You had your first, I think, super. I mean, my husband and I, like, he was 40 now. I was younger, but like, that was early, and you
Right.
were loving it, and you just, I remember watching you were in LA embracing it. You seemed to just make it look gorgeous, and then you had a
But I
second
did.
quickly.
We had second quickly, and I think we wanted that as well. I had grown up. My brother was 4 years younger than me. I think that gap kind of caused more issues than solved problems, if you know what I mean. And
Totally, yeah, yeah.
we did talk about wanting that kind of closer gap. Sophie's younger brother is only 2 years, and so they have a similar sort of gap. And I think in lots of ways, from this perspective of trying to kind of getting it all done and getting it out and sorted, and getting the show on the road a little bit. That's kind of why we talked about kind of wanting to have the second quite close. But I think everyone talks about what way you could do it and which way will work the best, and it's all nonsense. Your own experience is your own experience, and it has to be treated that way. But I will say that, like, it did cause a lot of stress at the time, because we had one in nappies and just turning 2, and the other one arrived, and we were about to move back to Ireland. We didn't know, and COVID hit, and so when I say it was carnage, it was carnage. And I think we're only just getting over it now.
that's a kind of trauma. Like, let's not be too dramatic, but that is a kind of trauma, because I have a ton of friends similar to you who were a little bit younger and got the show on the road much quicker. Maybe they met their partners younger, or they were I was so indecisive about marriage and kids. I was like, I just want to be with this guy, but I don't know if I want. So we were later to the show, and you say you did that, and there's a huge thing in Ireland of like 202, right, just get your 2, and then you might have fertility issues and it doesn't work that way or whatever.
Yeah.
But it is a trauma to kind of throw 2 out at a time, because what's gorgeous is they have a connection. You're in it anyway, so feck it. But then there's the shit show of your body, like your wife recovering, you recovering, the sleep issue, the nappies. So I had a gap not planned. Like, we really struggled to have our second, which we didn't think we would. And now in a way, I'm like, it was calmer. It was mental, but it was calmer, and it was better for our mental health, because I think the first time we were so stunned. So I don't know what the comparison is. It'll probably be better for your kids down the line with the bond, but it's hard when you're in it, Donal, and COVID.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's the thing. Like, I do think back of like that peaceful moment of having Noah, and picking him up from school and going and getting coffees and all that. Not for him, but like being
Romantic
able
stuff.
to doing nice things where there's no other kind of draw on you, where you can have that intense sort of father-son bond time or mother-son bond time. And I think I often think what it would be like, but I don't lament it. I think it happened the way it happened because that's how it happened, and I don't kind of think how it could have been if we had waited, or and we were obviously and that's like you said, like we were very lucky to have 2 healthy children in a short space of time, and so I think in lots of ways we just kind of put the head down. But I think in the space of time that it all happened, perhaps it could have been easier without the giant transatlantic move, and without,
because you didn't have support, I presume. Did you have support there?
No. I mean, we had friends close by. We had someone who kind of did a few hours in the afternoon just to kind of give us a break, while we were both working. But I mean, ultimately, no, we didn't. It was a very kind of small community. And so that idea of moving home was very clear for us when we had kids, and became even clearer when the second arrived. It certainly kind of accentuated the need to move back.
I speak about a grief. I'm always like, you're bereft when you have kids. And I mean it in a really, like, by the way, it's the most awesome thing you'll do, but you have to kind of park that old life. And if you're still grieving, and some people, never don't get over that. They just don't embrace parenthood, or they leave their wife, or they find fundamentally they stay in the office longer because they actually can't cope. And some really embrace the madness, and they absolutely love being a parent. But there's definitely, I do remember speaking to a few people. I remember my brother-in-law, I was saying, God, I just miss being able to just go to a yoga class or have a drink or and he went, but that's gone. And I was like,
Yeah,
but it's not
yeah,
gone. It'll come back. He goes, no, Rebecca, something better or something cooler or something like it will change again. But like that life is not this life.
yeah,
And I was like, what
yeah.
are you saying? And he's like, you're responsible for a human and maybe another ultimately and another. He's like, you can't keep going on about what you, and it really hit me because I was like, I think I'm grieving what I was. So there is a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And I'd say when you've two on top of it and then you're moving home and COVID, it changes everything.
Yeah, well, I definitely you talk about grief, and like I think for a long time we'd are the trajectory of what we were doing lifestyle wise in terms of career. The reason we moved out to LA was one of those big moments of like, okay, this is it now. And I'd had a Food Network show, I got a show on HBO Max, and I
Wow.
was doing these like big shows where you turn up and there'd be a trailer for you, and there'd be, you'd go out and the Hollywood sign would
The
be underneath
dream.
the
Yeah.
dream, like the stuff that
Yeah.
kind of that we had been pushing for a long time. And having children really did kind of slow that down because and rightfully so in some ways, because on one side I really I wanted that, and
Mm.
I think in some ways if you're career driven, you're kind of doing it. If you try and look back at the reasons for me were to have a healthy, happy family, and that we'd be able to provide for them, and all those were the kind of core reasons why I was doing it.
Mm.
But then, when you mix the two,
Mm.
trying to find that balance was what I really struggled with, and trying to find that time to kind of be with them, but also not be stressed by the job that you were trying to do and keep afloat.
Mm.
And so all of those things were tricky enough. And then when we left LA, like I was not ready to leave. I was
Why
like,
did you?
we left because number one, because obviously the support system that wasn't there.
Okay.
I think that was definitely the major reason. I would have happily stayed in Los Angeles potentially for the rest of my
Did
life,
you
and
love it? You loved it?
loved it out
Oh
there.
wow,
Loved it
okay.
out there. And I really did, I think the success of us being out there was that we weren't in the madness of like, Sunset Boulevard and all of what you see on TV. We were in a lovely residential area. We had friends who were, who had grown up in LA. It wasn't kind of transient.
Yeah, yeah.
And, I think a lot of people who go out there, you have this kind of weird little bubble that kind of doesn't last. Whereas we still have friends out there who, they came and visited us only this Easter. So there is that feeling of like we found a little pocket of life out there, and that was
And you
lovely.
had
And
roots kind of and
yeah,
yeah.
and also the kids were born there and all of that, and then all of a sudden the kind of the urge and the need, especially with Oliver having been born, we kind of saw down the tracks here. We need to kind of go, okay, where are they going to go to school? Where are they going to grow up? Where are they,
Wow.
So I think ultimately, like Sophie was dead set on coming back, and
And you
she's
couldn't
from
stay there? You couldn't make it work, or you were just like, we've got to compromise somewhere. We can't just live
we
out the good.
We could have, but the other side of it was that from a work perspective, I was literally traveling back once or twice a month to
Okay.
Ireland, and so I was exhausted the entire time, and so that was then having a knock on effect on when I'd come home, because like you'd be so wrecked. Like it's funny because I talk about it now, and I haven't been back to the States in a while, and this Texas trip, and I'm absolutely exhausted. So I don't know how I was doing it with the two trips, and I was like so obsessed with jet lag and making sure that I got the sleep, and I did this, and it's all
Wow.
madness. It's madness, like madness trying to kind of keep it afloat. So I think that had got to a point where it was really hard to sustain both, and to be able to kind of do the shows. Like, and the great thing, I suppose, in terms of the American shows, were that they only recorded like 4 to 6 weeks at a time. So
Okay.
we always felt that, like, in the long run, having been out there and having established kind of ourselves, there was that thing of like, if we left, we can always come back for those. I went back and did that HBO Max show recently, and you go back, you do 6 weeks, and
Fine.
or
You don't have
five
to
five
live
weeks.
there.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be this kind of big life altering moment. And, my parents are getting older. My family is back home. Sophie's family is in Sweden. So the jump back from Dublin to Sweden, it was even longer for Sophie. So I think for all those reasons, we were heading towards home. And for all those reasons, I think that's why it happened. But it didn't stop that grief you speak about, of like that there was
Mm.
this life we had there, and
Mm.
all of a sudden COVID kind of accentuated the need for having to return home. If we would have done it then, I don't know. We probably would have. I certainly would have dragged my feet more and probably waited
Mm-hmm.
till the summer, or
Yeah.
waited, or
Yeah.
maybe kind of even experimented, like you said, with a half and half sort of scenario, because
Mm.
the kids were young at that stage. But ultimately, I think what we were searching for was something that was grounding. And the LA sort of experience with the amount of travel that was going in to sustain back home wasn't providing that. So I think now, in retrospect, having been home for what, 3 years now,
Wow, 3 years.
this is that moment where I feel for the first time. I mean, we've just bought a house, our first home ever that we've never.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank
Jeez,
you
that's
very much.
huge.
Yeah, and I feel now that having done that, that feels like we've committed. And I think for a lot of time when we were in LA, it always felt a bit kind of airy fairy flow.
Are you homesick for it?
For LA,
Hmm.
yeah, I do.
Hmm.
Oftentimes I do, because I think, it was something that we'd been reaching for, and when we finally moved and
Hmm.
made that commitment, it was, we'd committed to this other life. And so yeah, I often, like Sophie says it, I was in Texas and I was doing videos around Trader Joe's on my Instagram stories, and we were both like, oh my god, like this is just, and it sounds ridiculous, but at the same
It's
time,
not ridiculous. And
it
maybe
is a
one day you
chapter.
will go back. Maybe one day you will. Like you'll have said to your kids, you were born in LA and we have friendships for life there and the
Yeah,
climate. And we came home for family and consistency. But you know what? We went back in your teens, guys. Like you just don't know
you
really
don't.
what is going to happen. And my
Exactly,
husband was
exactly.
brought up in South Africa and was there till he was in university and only goes back sporadically now. And I think his dream was always to raise his kids there. So you just
Right.
sometimes you compromise some other dream. But like it's massive what you did and what you achieved there and the friendships, and we all watched that and your baby's been born, and it is a real gut-wrenching thing to be like, I'm coming home, and it
Yeah,
wasn't a tail between the legs thing because you had made a success, but it is a bit of a I have to accept what might be the right path. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
And if you didn't have kids, Donal, let's be honest, you would not probably have come home. I don't
I don't.
think you
Yeah, I
would
mean,
have. I don't know.
we wouldn't have had the immediate draw, because I think there would have been one layer less of pressure, that would have been a bit more manageable. But the children being there, I think, was very much the catalyst of kind of going, okay, we need to find something that's secure and grounding. And like, I look back at now, I don't think even if we'd been out there, we'd still have that sense of what we have now. So I am really happy with where I always
Okay.
kept saying the mantra of like, we're where we need to be for right now. And I think
Wow.
that's a
Okay.
really important
It's
thing
very
that you kind of,
positive.
it's, well, you have to be, because you do, you like, you say goodbye to a life, you kind of have to make that decision with a very strong will. And if you don't, I think there'll always be kind of question marks. And I think in the initial stages for me, when I came back, I was like, oh my god, what have we done?
Oh,
And
I
like, and then,
know. It's hideous. It's
but
hideous. And everyone's like, oh, you're back. You're like, oh, God.
yeah, but it's retrospect and you're back, and I'm very happy with what we've achieved to kind of and being back. So yeah, I mean, I think ultimately we're on a lovely path at the moment, and we're really
Where did you
enjoying.
buy your house?
Very close to home. Well, so I grew up in Howth, so we're
Okay,
just
so Dublin.
just down the
Okay.
road in Sutton. So
Amazing.
yeah, yeah,
That's a
we're
beautiful part.
excited.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah,
Look, the dreams do pop a little. Like I had highfalutin dreams about loads of things, being some producer, working in a massive news. Like I remember it, and I remember only starting on that path and shockingly becoming pregnant with Gia, my first kid. As in, we didn't
right.
really think it would happen that quickly. And just being so sick and unable to kind of, and then being like, we need to get a house, a mortgage. So taking a
Yeah,
more steady media commercially job,
right,
and
right.
being like, there goes all that jazz gone, pop. So like it, and I
Yeah.
do remember her being born and being quite resentful. I had to really work through that. I think it is
Okay.
normal, but I had to really go, So yeah, it is. It's normal. It's
Well, I
hard.
think it's honest as well, because I think everyone wants to put a happy spin on it, but like, becoming a parent is probably one of the most rewarding yet difficult things you do. And so,
But you just give
you know,
yourself away. It's gone. There you go.
absolutely, absolutely. And on the flip side of that, there's so many incredible positives to it, but it's, I think, more than anything, it's just being aware of that life adjustment, and you don't
Mm.
become aware of it until it happens.
No, of
I'm really
course
sorry for
not.
anyone who's listening to
No.
this.
So now you're back. You've got a 5 and a 3-year-old. How are you finding parenting a 5 and 3-year-old? How busy is it? Is Sophie working? What goes on at home day to day?
So yeah, it's busy, as you can imagine, as I think most parents know. It is busy, and it just adds another layer of busyness in amongst whatever you're doing. But so myself and Sophie kind of divvy it up. So Sophie works, does kind of half days, and we're working about kind of getting back to normality of working more full time together. So that's process, but yeah, no, I think it works quite nicely. Like, I think in lots of ways, having school really creates routine, and I am a big believer in routines and keeping things ticking along, because I think that is really important to us. And food is obviously the thing that I'm known for. So it is that sort of idea of sitting down for breakfast and sitting down for dinners, and having those moments where we actually share. And I know you can, like, that's also combined with telling Oliver to sit down 5 million times, and
I can see that.
tell him stop, don't feed the dog, all the times where you're trying to keep it all calm and normal. But I always laugh because those are the moments where we will look back on and we will miss. But ultimately, there is that moment of just carnage, and you have to try and find some sort of method in the madness. And but the routine does help, definitely.
Can I ask about boys, right?
Yes.
Obviously, did you know you're having boys? Did you care? Did you have any idea anything of anything?
We definitely both wanted, well, we wanted a girl to start off, which is terrible to say if they're ever listening back to this, but I will have told them at that
I'm
point.
surprised you're saying that. I don't hear that often when I interview guys. I don't know what it is, but they're often
Guys,
like, just
yeah, well,
wanted...
look, I was not, like, growing up, I was definitely not the most masculine man, and I kind of, like, I didn't like soccer, didn't like, football or sports or anything like that, and so I always thought, I'd be better with girls. But, like, the
Okay.
amazing thing is, like, once they are that age, like, you kind of think they're going to be this, like, oppressive figure in your life, and which they can be at times. You know, they're your pal growing up, and, like, they want to be interested in what you're interested in, and, like, and like, Noah does soccer on a Saturday, and I go and see him, and, like, like, all that shite that you start to
Yeah.
think, you think about before having kids, it all goes out the window, and it's all nonsense that you've created for yourself. So whatever gender comes out, it is literally, that is your lot, and you deal with it. And
Do you think you're meant to be given, like, I often think people, like, my sister's 3 girls, I
100%.
think sometimes you're meant to be given
Yeah.
something. Like, my husband was very
Wanting boys.
masculine, dominant, like rugby, cricket, like, man. And I remember always being like, I need to make you a little bit softer. I need to soften your edges. I don't know if I can marry someone like this. Like, you're just such a party, but I just find it very hard. And I remember he always thought he's going to have these 2 rugby players, right?
Right.
And we have 2 girls, and they're very precious, and they go on about the house. And my mom is like, he is a fundamentally different person.
Yeah.
Because he has to meet them with their femininity. And I'm not saying that they're maybe not going to be like this one day, or they'll change, and we have to accept that gender is such a fluid thing now, but they are fundamentally girls right now, and he is so different.
Absolutely.
And I think if he was parenting boys, he would be so pushy, like, he'd be like, like, it's amazing to watch. And maybe this has given you this other thing you didn't really think, you don't know.
Yeah, well, I do believe that, like, because I think, all of the preconceived idea, like I mentioned, like that, I don't want to be standing on a soccer pitch, and I don't want to be doing, like, I have no interest in sports and all of those things. And, like, and actually it is just preconceived ideas you have about it. And it's actually quite lovely to watch them find the things that they're interested in without me pushing one way or the other, like the fact that Noah is interested in that. Like, I brought him up to GAA, and both of us looked like sore thumbs, so it didn't go well. But
GAA is the funniest.
He's taken to soccer, and also, yourself, like, at different stages they will be open to it. And
you're wearing your Brett on top and some cool like Dana runners and like a vegan bag, and you head up to the GAA. Will you give me a break? Like, I look like such a tit at the GAA. It's so funny. And they're
and then my worst feeling is at the side of the pitch is they go, "Oh, could anyone come and help?" I'm like, "Don't throw the ball at me! Don't come near me!"
And you're trying to be like, "No, I'm such a busy person. I can't." It's horrendous. I do like the community feel, the meeting of people. I do like the crack that's taken. It also kills. I always say kills an hour, and people are like, "That's a terrible way to see parenting." I'm like, "No, kills an hour."
No,
what's the dream for that? Like, what's the vibe? Are you just hoping to kind of plant here? Now you've got the house. That must be really nice to have established that.
Yeah, no, I definitely have felt from the back of that. I think that has been a big goal for us, because we've literally moved houses 4 times in the last 3 years. It has been carnage, and, like, I think it's in some ways it has kind of impacted our parenting, it's impacted our life, it's impacted our relationship. So having this moment where we are now settled, and we're not going to be putting things in boxes again, I hope, and there is that moment where, like, now it feels like, okay, now we can go for this. Now we can, have routines. Now we can have normality.
Is that your real kitchen?
Is that no, it's not my real kitchen.
In the videos at home with the kid, it is. No.
So we've just moved
that stunning kitchen that I can't cope with. The one that you do, like, the baking for kid. No.
So we were renting a fab house.
Wow.
Only recently, and that was our last, like, rental, and that was a gorgeous one. We actually just filmed the new TV show in there as well.
Oh my god, that kitchen!
Our lovely landlord was like, "Oh yeah, no problem." They were fantastic, because we'd had a nightmare with a couple of previous landlords, and where they'd sold the house from underneath us, or they had they literally, we were in the house for 4 or 5 months, and then they told us they needed
Oh
they
my
wanted
God.
us out. So that's sort of nightmare stuff where you have 2 young kids and
That's
there's
hideous, Donald.
no
Jesus.
consideration for it. But I will say, our last landlord, they were fabulous. Shout out to Catherine and Ray, they were fantastic. And
Aww.
anyway, but yeah, so it's not our house, unfortunately.
But
I'd
your
love it. I'd
kitchen
love.
now, do you love your kitchen now?
Yes, we've just so I grew up, my mum had a galley kitchen, like tiny little space, and it worked really well when we were younger, because but now as we're older, like when we go in and do the Sunday roast with my mum, like we're all touching arses and you're kind of like
Bums are, yeah.
bums are cracking,
Yeah, bums against, yeah.
So but I always grew up with that, and so the kitchen we have at the moment is what I like to see. We talk about the evolution of the home, and so we
Yeah,
bought
yeah.
this very cute little cottage, and it's small and it's tight, and we have plans for it. But we've the first step was to get the kitchen sorted, so we
Yeah.
put in a lovely kitchen, and it's very functional, and
Aw.
it's tight, but it's very manageable, and yeah, we're loving it. Like, we're just loving that moment of it being ours. Like, I cannot tell you for how
I
long
know.
I have
Like,
never had a kitchen that's
no.
my own. It's ridiculous for the job that I do.
I lived in the country, well, not that far, but I remember getting a job in RT and being in college at the same time at 18 or whatever. And I remember having to rent in Stillorgan Joe Carriageway, then Bulls Bridge, then I was in Sandymount. I rented everywhere, and my husband
Right.
and I rented everywhere. And when we got our first house, I'll never forget that feeling. It was the most incredible feeling. And it was small, but it was amazing, and it was the crack. And I still have these vivid memories of going, is it ours? I mean, it's never really yours because of the mortgage, but like, it was amazing.
Yeah.
So that must be special.
It is, yeah. And I think in a lot of ways that, the job I do is very much kind of lifestyle based, in the sense that, like, you're cooking for moments, you're cooking for moments that you share with family, and that has been at the core of everything I do. And so to have a place that we can do that and know it's not getting ripped from underneath us is such a lovely feeling. And even for the boys, we were always conscious of the so many moves, and like, we always had the dream of having the perfect nursery, and of course, like, that doesn't happen when you're
It's
renting,
all horseshit. Everything is horseshit. Just
all horseshit.
remember, it's
I
all
know.
horseshit.
And
Tell
it's
me,
all Instagram favorite,
but
Instagram
look,
highlights.
it's lovely. But we're all usually crying on the underfloor heating bathroom floor at some point. Tell me about
If we're
Sophie.
lucky, if we're lucky.
Exactly, mostly not. Tell me about Sophie. Right, she is. When you have an opinion of someone who's in the spotlight like you are, and like, and you're really good, I will say, at content creation that's relatable and cool and gorgeous and kind of achievable. You'd want to live that life without it being hideously, pretentious or assholey. Like, I love what you create, and you see Sophie within it, and she seems cool, calm, collected, keeping the shit. Like, she seems that way, but like, how is she? How are you guys? It's been some bloody journey. There's a long way to go, but how are you?
Yeah, it's funny because, like, I think it's definitely, I think both of us would say that the last couple of years have taken its toll, and I think for a lot of parents,
Shocker.
Well, I mean, you find that moment where you've lost. Like, I remember, like, we moved to LA and we were in the height of our, like, we just got married, and we were moving to a new country,
Sexy
and it was all love. It was
times.
amazing, and we were going out to, like, restaurants together, and then, of course, like, now you're having to, like, book in date night, and now you're having to, like, make an effort to, like, spend just some solo time where you're not killing each other.
We should have sex Sunday the 29th at 2 p.m. I know it's you'll never think
Ridiculous.
that'll happen, like,
And it happens. So I
Yeah.
think I would say the last couple of years have been hard on us, but I think we both have. I think you have those moments you go, like, we definitely still want to be together, right? You don't,
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
hate each other that much.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to be honest with you, but it is the case.
No.
So you kind of go, okay, no, we're in this. We're definitely in this together. We definitely want to work on this. So, like, I think you've with parenthood, you say goodbye to a certain aspect of your relationship as what you come in as, and I think this is now the kind of important time is the planting of seeds.
But will it? This is the time where it's like, I do think it's, will you make it or not? And I'm not for you, but I'm just saying, it's certainly me, and I've just turned 40, and we're married 10 years this year. It was certainly the time when I was like, fiscal review, like, let's have the chats, like,
well, because everything's
killed
changed.
each other.
Yeah, and everything you went in with has changed completely. So I think from that perspective, you kind of have to take stock, and you have to kind of go, okay, so what's the plan forward? And like you said, like, it is putting plans in place and a schedule, and as much as that has to happen, eventually it will come back, and that's kind of, I guess.
And then you hope you're still the same. There's the semblance of that original kind of lust and love, and that you still have this gorgeous like, that's what you're aiming for, is that you get back to yourselves and you don't lose yourself in your kids. I think it's the kids thing. You fundamentally, I think back in the day, Donal, looking at parents and generations, they they lost their relationships, maybe to kids or maybe to financial stress or to all that. And we are
Yeah.
more privileged in many ways, even if it is hard to get in the property ladder. We can do a date night and we can get in
Yeah.
help, and we can. These were people having 5 or 6 kids with very little. There was no relationship. And then
Yeah.
they did the Irish marriage thing where they stuck it out. And there is that nice feeling now that we choose each other. Like I always say this, you choose, there's no one forcing. If you don't want to be with each other, don't, but choose. You
Exactly.
either sit there and go, yeah, I'm still really cool with you, you know?
But I think it
It's
also
hard.
it is hard, and I think it's also being aware and being conscious that it is hard, because I think you can't take away from the fact that it is madness, and like there's there's what, like I went out the other day and Oliver had peed in my flip flops, and there's when you're dealing with that, and then you're screaming at one person, and so like there's all those sorts of scenarios that like unfold, and you're like the normality of just what, like you get up in the morning and get ready and go out the door completely changes, and in within that there's little like phrase and little moments. But I think it is that kind of, it is a decision, like you said, that you make yourself and you make as a couple, where you come
Mm.
together that this is something we're moving forward with. And there
Mm.
is, like, at the core of it, there is love. There's, the reason
Yeah.
you
And if
went
there
into it is
isn't,
there's love.
you're
And
bunched.
if
Yeah.
exactly, so you have to kind of, you have to be mindful of it and be aware and acknowledge it, because I think that's the ultimate thing, is when you get to a point where you're just coping and you're just getting
Or
through.
you shut down. There's no
Oh, you
chats
shut down.
about what's going on. Like,
Yeah.
you're not walking around in your underwear in the morning and you're both complimenting each other and smacking each other's arses and like, can't wait to see you
Does that
later. And
happen?
what'll I get in the farmer's market? And it's all this horseshit. And how's work? Good. I'll check in with you. And you're texting all day. It's now like you're walking around in your underwear and it's like, she has a poo in a spare room. What?
Where's the
I'm
romance
in the
in
middle
that?
of picking my bride for work. Like, well, she's done it. And the dog hasn't been out for 3 days. And did you know the bin? And the guy is going to come and you're like, heck off. And
Yeah,
it's this anger that you've never had with each other that comes with this stress. It's all just stress.
yeah.
And I do think, yeah, you're right. It's the checking in. And I do think and I genuinely am so honest about this with friends and my partner. Some make it, some don't. And it's
Mhm.
really survival of the fittest. It's really tough. But anyway,
Yeah, and but I think you're right, like, and I think
that's a whole other podcast season.
but like you said, like, it's acknowledging it, and I think if you acknowledge it, that's probably the first step of trying to, like,
Yeah.
of trying to find yourselves again, because it's you're coming at it from a completely different chapter of life, and all of it's what I find amazing is that it just kind of it happens all of a sudden. It's happened where like the kids are demanding of you, and then you've got other pressures, and then you do have to make the effort. So it is an important
And then
thing,
you
and it's
sit at
something
date night and you're like, don't talk about them. Don't talk about them. You
that
actually have to say, let's not. And it's not that you don't love them to death, but you have to find other stuff to talk about.
yeah, yeah.
Tell me about your amazing stuff that's going on, right? So you have a book. Jesus, you're on drugs with the work. What's going on now?
Well, we're busy, all right. As you can hear, I have a little hoarse
I'm
because
gonna
we're
let you go. I want you to have
all,
a
all
rest.
sorts.
So tell
But
me.
no, we have the new cookbook which is out, which is home kitchen, which is perfectly appropriate because it is, for the first time, it is my actual home kitchen. Not that I've been lying all these years, but it definitely is something that it was a very personal book to write. And we talk about all of what we've discussed here, where there has been just this journey, and it's been a lovely moment to kind of sit down and write about elements of that, the recipes that have formed part of what make our lives tick. And then over and above that, we've the TV show that went into it.
Wow.
The kids were in it, but Noah told me for the first time, he's over it. He doesn't want to do any more of that, right? So I'm like, I have to be respectful of that. So, like, I always said,
Wow.
we both always said, like, the minute they're going like, no, it's not for me. I don't want to be involved anymore. We're like, right, okay,
Wow, that's really interesting.
you
He's
listen.
yeah.
Well, he's 5 now, and like, being told to get into a different pair of clothes is like madness to him.
Painful.
Painful. So,
What's
so we
home kitchen? What is the culmination? Like, what kind of recipes can we expect? Because I just love the stuff you do. Like, is it a real like hodgepodge, like a mix or not?
It always, I mean, for me, it always has been a mix because I have such a broad interest in different cuisines. But I think the thing that ties it all together is easy and accessible, and
Okay.
the recipes that are doable. So that, like, while because I am always looking for the easiest life as possible, particularly with kids. So it is trying to find a recipe that doesn't take you 15 hours. It's something
Okay.
that, like, literally you can go from start to finish 15, 20 minutes in the kitchen, and you haven't had to take every pot and pan out of the cupboard. So I have always kind of aspired to those sorts of recipes. And I think when I remember I wrote a book called Meals and Minutes, and that really was kind of
That
the
was a
start.
great book.
Ah, thank you very much. But
It's
it
a great
was the
book.
start of like, knowing who I write for and really kind of finding my voice in food. Where I think before I was always doing the things I was interested in, but I was kind of very clear about who I was writing for, and I knew I wasn't alone in the need for making quick meals and making dinners that satisfied. And if you're going to go to the effort, that actually tastes good, because a lot of
Yeah.
people don't cook regularly. So if you're going to go to the effort, you take a recipe of mine and you literally go and you get the results. And that's what I've always kind of thought in the back of my head, is
And
that
what
like
are
if
the
someone
goodies? Like,
the
what are the
goodies, I suppose it's the big flavor dishes that satisfy. Comfort food is a big one
mm,
for me. Pastas, chicken dishes, the
okay.
desserts, the things that I always think if you're going to commit to the kitchen, and even if you've never cooked before, I write recipes for plenty of people who have an interest in food, but I'm kind of almost more interested in the people who don't cook, because
Yeah.
they're the ones when you can take on one recipe and nail it. Like my sister-in-law does vodka penne, and she doesn't always
Wow.
admit that it's mine, but it's like
Amazing.
it's one that I see her doing all the time. And I love when you find those sorts of recipes that become part of your it's a part of your kind of weekly routine. And the biggest moment of success for me is when I see families who make the chorizo chicken burgers, and that's their
Yum.
thing, or they
Yeah.
make the roast chicken stew, or things like that that really feel part of other
Wow.
people's lives. And that's where it's really rewarding what we do. So the TV show is coming out in November. We've got a Christmas
Wow.
special. I've just shot this thing in Texas for this morning in the UK, and we're on the promo trail. But hopefully around Christmas time, I may just switch off and completely completely go into a dark room and calm down.
Do you know what's so funny? Everyone like cookbooks is so funny to me that they're so successful, and I know yours will be, and people reach for it because people always say, oh, you can just find it on your phone or your iPad and just open the recipe and just sit there and have your BBC cook or whatever. It's really odd because I would always be like, is that's the easy way? Because we spend our whole lives on our bloody phones. But when I
Yeah,
am doing that or making a parmigiana, or I actually don't really know that well about flourless cake and I will always put my stand out and pick my book, whether it's
yeah,
Delia or Darina or you. I will always just bring it down and sit there with my book.
it's
And so
great.
they are still in demand. It's really creepy to
Yeah,
me to think that actually cookbooks, it's not like you just said 11, that is insanity.
yeah, I
That's
know. I mean,
insanity. You're
I
like
look back at
10. What age are you?
it. I'm 37 now.
Are you? That's
And the grays
mental.
show it.
That's crazy. Well done. 11
Thank
books.
you.
Jesus
Yeah, but I
Christ.
mean, like even you say that, and I always get asked that, like, is our cookbooks done? And they're not. Like
They're not.
they're like every year there are more and more cookbooks being released, and it is because they have that aspiration element. So like
You're
I
right. It's the
know,
aspirational element, though.
yeah, and
Like I got
everyone,
it. I got an Ottolenghi and a candle and one of yours and something else for. And I remember going, "This is a great Like, sorry, it is a beautiful thing because it sits up on your shelf and you can show it off and pull it down when you actually
yeah.
want to do a showpiece. Like, I don't know if every day I'm someone who can cook and I'm okay at it, so I don't need to necessarily. But I do when I'm doing a Saturday night thing. I would definitely reach, definitely.
Yeah,
So they are popular. It's creepy.
it is, but I think like I love them. Like I love reading cookbook. I ordered 3 cookbooks yesterday because I really love
Wow.
sitting down with them, and I have always like I my cookbook collection has been the hardest thing I've moved every bloody move, is because there's like
Yeah, I'd
hundreds and
say. I'd
hundreds of cookbooks.
say.
So I have a back that's aching because I've been lugging them around for the last couple of years. But what I would say is that like that element where you get the opportunity to sit down, and there is that aspiration element. You might not cook every night, but you will have the idea that you can nail one or two core recipes that become part of your routine and become part of your life. That is for me the success of a cookbook, is that someone finds that and gets inspired. And while they might not cook all my recipes, it'll get them into the kitchen with that one recipe or 2 recipes from the cookbook.
Donal Skehan, you are a busy man, a busy dad. I know you're wrecked and you're so good to do this. Final question is, if I came over to your place this evening and it's mayhem and my kids are mayhem, what would you cook for me?
It's probably something very
Now, I'm
simple.
not, I'm a vegetarian. Sorry, just to,
Oh, I'm glad you said that.
sorry, yeah.
Oh, okay. Now you've
In
thrown
case
it
you're like
completely.
meatballs and no.
Well, I do. I think a stir fry is always a good quick
Okay.
winner. So I always whack out the wok. I do a good pad thai, and I have a
Oh,
vegetarian pad thai.
wow. Pad thai,
So you
yes.
make a very simple paste with loads of aromatics, and then you basically fry that off. Add your veggies in,
Wow.
add your noodles in, add a little. Oh, your egg? Can we do egg?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
absolutely. Not vegan
Egg.
yet.
Bring it
Yeah.
together and absolutely gorgeous. Simple. But again, like that's a perfect example of big flavors. You've got lime juice, you've got fish sauce, and you've got a little bit of
Love
sugar
it.
for sweetness. So it's balancing the flavors. It all works a treat.
I think people are rooting for you because you're sound and keep it real. And I think you just need to keep doing that, be you, because we just all root for you. And I was so happy to get this chat with you. And you know what? You're doing an awesome job with those boys, and they're going to keep you on your toes. I'm going to take a quick photo of us because we're in foreign destinations, if I can.
It'll work.
And thanks for everything and have a wonderful day. Bye, Donal.
Not at all.
Bye.
Thanks so much.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Emil.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.